Hi guys, in today's video I'm going to be telling you how to become the best student possible. I'm going to be sharing you my top tip on how to be the best student you can be this semester and how to be as productive as you can be. So I'm going to be covering all things organization, discipline, time management, and motivation. So this video might be a bit shorter because I'm just going to be talking through the whole thing, but these are my best 6 tips on how to succeed this semester. I'm sorry if you can hear some background noises. The lawnmowers just started mowing the lawn for some reason as soon as I turn my camera on, but hopefully it's not too loud. So let's get started with some tips. So my tip number 1 is to use time management techniques. My personal favorite is to do some time blocking in my calendar. I've showed you guys through like multiple videos on how I do that, but it's pretty simple. You basically list all of your tasks that you have to do. You can use time blocking just the morning of, and you can use time blocking just the morning of and time block your day. You can also use that at the beginning of your week and time block your whole week and adjust it through your week. So you basically just get your task and estimate how much time it's going to take and then put it in a calendar of some sort. You can also use just a paper planner, but I personally use my Apple calendar. So time blocking is my personal favorite, but there's so many different time management techniques you can use. There's the Pomodoro technique, which is pretty popular on TikTok. It's basically when you do like study sessions or work sessions of 25 minutes and then take a break for a couple minutes. Usually it's 25-5. A lot of people use Flora, which is an app that you can basically like lock off your phone for a certain amount of time, and then it like grows plants with the amount of time you've locked it off. As far as time management, I also recommend avoiding multitasking. Doing one thing at a time perfectly is much better than doing 2 things at once. It taking a bit longer and then those 2 things aren't even done perfectly. Yeah, doing one thing at a time is really important to make sure you're focused on one thing. You do that thing perfectly. You don't have to go back and redo it, because that's a lot of the time the case when you multitask. And then as far as prioritizing your task that you have to do, I recommend the Eisenhower matrix. I don't know if I've pronounced the name of it right. I'll put a picture of it on the screen. It's basically a way to classify your tasks from urgent, not urgent, important, not important, and then from that you can basically just what needs to get done as quick as possible and what can wait. And another time management techniques you can use is the 52-17, which is basically just like the Pomodoro technique, but it's with like different times, I guess. So you work for 52 minutes but you get a break for 17 minutes. But there are so many different time management techniques. You can literally just go online, go on TikTok or on Pinterest and look up what works for you. I really recommend trying a bunch of those out and see what works best for you. That's what I did. Tip number 2 is to work on your self-discipline. It's important to realize that you're not always going to be motivated to go to class, to go to school, to do your homework, or just to do work in general, but you always need to be disciplined in order to do those tasks, because no matter how much you plan your day, no matter how much you plan your month or your week, if you don't have the discipline to execute that plan, it's not going to amount to anything. So you kind of need to hold yourself accountable for your responsibilities. For me personally, I think it's just natural with me. Like all of my family, we're all very disciplined and we're all like workaholics. So for me personally, I've never really struggled with that, but a lot of people that struggle with it recommend to like reward yourself every once in a while. Throughout your whole week, you've accomplished everything that you needed to that was realistic to accomplish as well. Then you can like, I don't know, do online shopping, you can go to your favorite restaurant, you can grab yourself a coffee. Little rewards that make you feel good about accomplishing all of the things you accomplished, and basically just knowing that you cannot count on being motivated to do everything that you have to do. My tip number 3 is to romanticize school. I have a whole video on how I romanticize school, so I recommend go watching it because I'm not going to be talking much about how I do it right now, but if you want some tips on that, I have a whole video on it. It's kind of related to my last tip where you can't really rely on being motivated to attend classes or to do your homework, to study. Like you cannot just rely on being motivated, because you're never always going to be motivated. That's never going to happen. It doesn't happen for anyone. So for me personally, I find that romanticizing school definitely helps with motivation. It kind of changes the experience of going to school, going to class, or like studying, just making it feel different can sometimes help with motivation. Tip number 4 on how to be the best student is to take notes. This is pretty self-explanatory, and I feel like everyone does take notes, but finding the best note-taking technique for you is something that takes a long time. It's also different from class to class. Like, for example, I don't take my notes the same way for my anatomy classes than for my chemistry classes. Often for chemistry, it's more like practice questions related, and anatomy is very much, you know, by heart. Like, you need to know that stuff, so my notes are different from subject to subject. And also, taking note during class for me is so important. There's so much stuff that teachers say that isn't in PowerPoints or in slides or whatever that you just need, well, you don't necessarily need to know it, but it just helps you understand so much better, and then writing it down kind of gives you an advantage on anyone that's not writing it down. Especially for me in anatomy class, I find that super helpful, because sometimes my teacher is gonna like reword a sentence that there's in a PowerPoint in a different way, and then I can write that down and I'll have like 2 ways to explain what a certain like mechanism is. Personally, I find that it's super helpful, and also it forces you to always be focused in class and to always listen to what the teacher is saying. Tip number 5 is to find a good system of organization that works for you. Systems of organization can be like Notion. You can use Good Notes and have like planners and stuff on that. You can use your Apple Calendar. You can have a big planner on your wall, like a big calendar on your wall. You can use Google Drive. You can have just like a whiteboard on your wall. You can use a reminders app. There are so many different things that you can try to see what works best for you. You just kind of need to make sure you have a system for your daily tracking, weekly tracking, and monthly tracking. This can be the same system for all 3. It can be different for all 3. You can use the same for 2 of them and then use a different one for another one. So for example, for your daily tracking, you can just write a to-do list in a notebook. Like, that can be your daily tracking. But for your weekly tracking, you can just have habit tracker in your Notion, or a big list of everything that you have to get done at some point. That's what I do. I find that to be quite helpful. You can also use different systems for different areas of your life. So for example, you can use Notion for school, and then for work you can use your calendar. You could also use the same one for all of them. It really depends on what works best for you. Once again, the last and most important tip in my opinion is to have a consistent routine. This is so important to kind of like know where you need to be at what time. For example, if you always wake up at different times, then you're never going to be able to have the same amount of hours in a day for every day of your week, because you're always waking up and going to bed at different times. Having a routine is really important for your body as a whole, but also for your mind, because at some point your routine will kind of become like second nature. So you'll just wake up and not have to think about what you need to be doing, because your body just knows what it needs to be doing if you're always doing the same thing, you know. And that routine doesn't necessarily need to be the same thing every day. It can be a different routine from Mondays than from Tuesdays because of different classes and stuff, but routines obviously need to be somewhat rearranged every semester for me because of class schedule. But really recommend having a strong routine and having a good sleep schedule as well. Having a good and consistent sleep schedule is going to help you just get less tired throughout the day, have more energy, be more rested, and all of those things help you learn better. So those are all of my tips on how to be the best student possible. Comment down below any more videos you guys want to see. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye guys.